I'm Raffaella Folgieri from University of Milan. I'm an expert, a professor in artificial intelligence. So is that, yeah? It's good. Okay, so I'm here.
Hi everybody, I'm sorry. So we are here because the artificial intelligence and robotization increasing, they have a fundamental impact on our way of living and our way of thinking. And 1 week ago, I don't know if you read that, but the French newspaper Le Point precisely pointed the fact that women were given less credit line than men, although they had the same profiles and job condition. And guess what? It was the new Apple card. So you see that artificial intelligence, when it's used by a big company, American company sometimes, where you have men behind, is not giving more to women. It's not equality. So it's important to understand how much of human perspective there are in algorithm, and we have to be vigilant and see that we can continue to spread inequality even through tech. So if we want more equality in our modern society, we need to be conscious that tech is exactly where everything can change. So I'm Jean Arnaud. I'm a CEO of a company which is called Unmanned, and we are building a virtual school to define the future of education. And I think we can start by education, as everybody talked about this before. I think it's very true. So today we have three is not here, okay. Three wonderful women who work in different fields. They will maybe introduce themselves and speak about their experience.
I was just going to before.
Okay.
I think that's, I'm artificial intelligence, now biological intelligence. So, I'm Raffaella Folgieri from University of Milan, Italy. I deal with artificial intelligence because I teach it, not only in scientific faculties, but also in humanities and philosophy, for example. I'm here not to defend artificial intelligence, even if I think that we could do something with that, but just to talk about women in STEM and why we are important in these disciplines. And that's all for now.
Hi everyone, my name is Michaela and I'm coming from the startup. So it has been mentioned here at the Wild West. This is an AI startup called Unmanned Life. I'm director there, and I started at Unmanned Life before its incorporation actually. So I'm the part of the founding team. I've been there for about 5 years. And before that, I worked for NGO and also a corporate. So I'm here to kind of, give your insights, how it is working there in a startup environment, if we do have a gender equality there, and also talk about, we have that in the topic, artificial intelligence and robotization, how it is changing work-life balance. So what we work on are, so we have AI software platform that is providing autonomous applications for different industries and sectors. So when you hear about autonomous last mile delivery, autonomous connectivity, anything autonomous, this is something that we do. So a lot of time people come at me and saying, you're taking our jobs. So I'm the one trying to explain that there is a sustainable way to do it. So I'll be providing insights and you are feel free to ask questions.
Okay, hello everybody, my name is Loredana and it looks like I'm the least technical person in the panel. I am Director of Development at the Digital Leadership Institute, which is an NGO that has a mission of achieving inclusive digital transformation, and we mainly focus on encouraging and supporting girls and women into STEM career studies and mainly digital. In this position, my role is to support the implementation of the current initiatives that we are having towards achieving our mission, but also looking into new ways of doing this, of supporting women in tech, into collaborating with the actors from university or the private sector towards achieving this goal together. So that would be it.
Okay, thank you very much. What we will do is I will ask you some questions, and after we will share all together, because I think you have a lot to say, and it's better if we can all share everything. So, Michaela, please, do you see a lot of women working in your sector currently, and has the number increased in past years?
Yes, so the things have changed, that is for sure. When I started and I joined startup, I've been actually pitched idea of the startup. And when I was pitched the idea, it was pitched by men. It was all about the business value that we can bring through this technology. And I come from more social side, so my take on this and my value that I brought to the company was about how we can use this technology for social impact. So emergency use cases and food deliveries and all that sort of stuff. So when I started, most 80-90% of the time I met with men, and there were not a lot of women, especially maybe in the larger corporates, like IBM and Intel. Yeah, women started there a little bit earlier. But at the time, there weren't a lot of women in a startup environment. A lot of ideas being fueled by men, and women were just getting. And now we have a bunch of great, amazing entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs that are out there. So I think the word spread around the world. Those discussions that we're having nowadays really supported and increased the number of women involved in a startups as well, and encouraged women to take a place in a startup environment. So I see the change, and more women are part of a startup environment. They are founders, they are on a board, they are directors. And this panel, I would like to share our sort of my personal experience and experience from our startup, so you can relate. So in our startup, we do encourage women to come and join, and we are very aware that the diversity support the growth and the progress. So when hiring, for example, we do make sure that we have a diverse portfolio of CVs that are coming in. So I think the change is coming, but we are all sort of feeling the change by our actions to answer this question. So I think it is also up to us to sort of remember all the time that there is still this issue, because there is still this issue of gender inequality, but still making sure that we have this on our agenda, and that the women are coming into the startups and participating, and yeah, there is a change, simple as that.
Nice. Raffaella, so do you see more female students in your class, and if not, how do you promote STEM to attract more females?
Yeah, it's a complex question, because female students are increasing in number, but very slowly, especially in Mediterranean countries. It's a matter of culture, of course, because there are stereotypes, and they don't help. I was coming here from the airport, and the ticket controller asked me why I was here, and I told him I was here for a conference, and he asked me, oh, it is a fashion conference. I said, no. I said, no, I deal with robotics and artificial intelligence. And he said, really? Are you so intelligent? So that means, people expect that people in STEM, men or women, are nerds, and this doesn't help. I can see this also in students. They are Female students are many in the first year, but then they abandon. They are discouraged from the system. When I was at my PhD, and not so a long time ago, it was 2004, on my floor there wasn't a toilet for women. So they had to create one for me. I was the only one. And of course my male mate were upset with me because that was the room they used for other purposes. So it's not so long time ago. Also, we have to consider that all begins when we are students. Usually people who love STEM disciplines are considered nerd. They are not popular. Even they are men. Imagine a woman interested in STEM. We are isolated also by our schoolmate. So it's really difficult. What we can do a lot actually, because what I do is making my discipline cool. Because this is something we don't do. It is cool. I enjoy my discipline. It is creative. I can create that stuff. And I don't see it as, nerd or geek. It's interesting. It's the future. It's amazing. It's easy if you like it. So I try to enjoy my student, to involve them, to create teamwork made both by women and men, because they have to learn to cooperate. And sometimes, especially in old university, in Mediterranean country, our way to teach is not inclusive, it's not participative, it's more, cathedratic. So we teach and they just listen. So I try to do differently. I try to involve them. I try to make it cool, and just I explain them that it can be amazing to understand the formula. Formulas are beautiful. And, at first they look at me just telling, oh, you are crazy, it's not beautiful. But when I explain them that it is, I can see they are interested. And also what I noticed that often female from different disciplines, like social disciplines, philosophy, are interested in acquiring technical skills. So we can do that, and my recipe is making it cool. So not nerd, not geek, but just cool, and it works. So I can see that they are not scared. I know I scare men usually, because they think, oh yeah, now you are going to analyze me, because I use, brain-computer interfaces, I use robotics, I study human brain to translate it in machines, but it's interesting, it's not scary. So, in my opinion, this is what we should do, just making it cool. And it works.
Nice. It's cool to be a nerd in San Francisco. And it's cool to shape the future, right? So, Loredana, you say that you were involved in the promotion of female in STEM. How do you support this, and how do you promote STEM to attract more women?
Yes, it's true that our main mission is to support women and girls into going into STEM. So for this, the initiatives that we have address critical points along what is called leaky pipeline. So where women kind of get lost and get away from science and technology. So we have initiatives that target young girls, and we try to show them that science is not just for nerds. It's not something that they cannot do. We try to show them that it's something that is fun, creative, and also that they can use science for social good. This is something that women maybe in particular are concerned about, the good of their community, of their environment as a whole. So we try to introduce this into our initiative to show them that they can do that and they can use science for good. We also have initiatives that target women with professional experience. So women that are willing, or they want to change their career path, or that women that have reached the glass ceiling, how it's called. So we try to do this by offering them specific training in digital skills from very beginning, beginner level until high level skills, I would say. And also to build a community around them, because also this aspect has proven to be one of good practices in what we're doing, building a community, a space where they feel safe to share what they experience in their work life. And we also target those women who are considering going into a career as a freelance, or they want to start their own businesses. And again, for them as well, we are trying to give them specific digital skills, and also to create a community around them where they can find their business partners, or looking into finding the right financing for them. And least, at the end, I would say, but not less important, is we're trying also to promote role models. So it's important for girls and women to see that there are other women that have made it. It's important for them to see that they can identify with somebody in their community or in their extended community. And I would say until now, it works like this. These are some good practices, but there's still a long way to go to get to where we would like to be.
Okay, it's your turn. If you have some question, feel free to speak and to ask, because I'm sure they have a lot to share and a lot of experience.
It's true that for the algorithms we need more the feminine point of view. Have you any example to talk about that? Thank you.
Start.
So, we need diversity for sure in the tech teams. And you know, again, experience from my working environment, even my colleague CTO, he said, we need to get more women into our team. It starts to be crucial, because if you don't have this diversity, you feel like, you start to lack ideas. There's not a diverse creativity. They start to head one direction almost. Men, because they are programmed in a kind of the same way. We discussed this, how we think differently, right? So they also start to design use cases that are more familiar to them, and they start to program in a way that is more familiar to them, or what is more interesting. Maybe it doesn't even bring the value, it's just interesting, right? So I think in that aspect, this feminine contribution is very important, to sometimes divert the focus and say, hey, what about doing this or this? And we often, as I said, I think if we have it somehow embedded in us, we often do think social, and we think beyond business value. Women often think beyond business value. We think social value, family values. We don't want to take all the jobs, of course. So those inputs, especially in tech teams, they're so important to remind them what is a life about finally, what is a work-life balance about. So I do believe that behind this algorithm there need to be diversity. But I think what is a good point nowadays, that men, they start to realize, I don't know, because they had bad experience having this man-driven tech teams, but they do start to realize, okay, if we would have had a woman here, maybe we could do something else.
You want to?
Yeah. I have something to add too. Diversity is important because we can avoid biases, because we have them. So it's true, we born all equal, and then society and education changes, so usually men are more apparently rational, or they are seen as that, and women are more emotional. So it's not only about biases, but it's also about new technological frontiers. Artificial intelligence has two aspects. An old one, an old-fashioned one, the GUFI, so where we have just algorithms, and the machine learning aspect, where machine learns. And the next frontiers on which I work is empathetic machines, about empathetic machines. So when we talk about empathy, we need women, because yeah, it's true, we are different in that. We are more emotional. So this is what I use also to attract women in STEM, because I tell them, okay, you are different, you are more emotional. Artificial intelligence is not sterile, it's about emotions, especially the new one, if you want to go in the strong artificial intelligence direction, because empathy is a protection for humankind and so on. So it's important to include women also for this difference. It's important. It's something characterizing us, and we cannot deny it. So we are different, it is a richness, we have to use it.
Yeah, and probably for the model too that we have to build for the future. That's important to have diversity. The more we have a diverse approach, and the more complex machine we can build and we can interact.
Yes.
It's like ourselves and what we try to build with Europe, for example. A lot of different roots, and we are from different country. We have our different culture, and we are doing like what in French. I don't know if we have a beautiful word in English for this arabesque. We are a web of a lot of things, and that's the beauty of the things, probably, and even to build a machine. We had a question here. Yeah, it's your turn.
Thanks. My name is Professor Linson. I'm a neuroscientist. In fact, the term neuroscience, to my mind, is obsolete. You should, in fact, refer to the nutri-neuro-immunovasculo-endocrino-epigenetic system, because you cannot possibly dissociate one from the other. But this is a reaction to this education again, and the link between science and social sciences. Just a reaction to get the discussion going. I was invited some time ago to attend a meeting at the Bavarian mission to the EU, and I asked the audience and panel, what is excellence for? What kind of excellence is most needed for us human beings today? Dead silence. So I bravely went on, and I suggested that, well, perhaps considering the increasing world instability and violence, the seriousness of the environmental issues, perhaps the finality of education, of research and innovation should be to find a means to defuse the world-ticking time bomb that is threatening our civilization and planet, and to achieve and sustain the citizens' well-being and quality of life. So I very much like the way that you are trying to connect the two. I think it is absolutely essential. Culture alone shall not save the world, science alone shall not save the world, interdisciplinarity might. There's a general consensus regarding the importance of interdisciplinarity. The problem is its assimilation. It's not that our brain can't, it's because of an obsolete, outdated educational system that is still mainstream because of very powerful political and financial vested interests. It's depressing, I assure you.
Can I say something? Yeah. I completely agree, and we need interdisciplinarity. I deal with this, and my research is about interdisciplinarity, but actually it doesn't pay from a career point of view. That's why many people don't do that. So it has been my choice, I don't mind, because I enjoy it. But if I look at my career, I could suffer from that. Anyway, yeah, we need what you said, we need to make something sustainable. We also need different approaches from different sciences, hard sciences and not hard, because nowadays we need a problem-solving approach to everything, but we need creativity also. Creativity is the most important soft skill today, and we can have that only if we make a sort of cross-fertilization among different disciplines. So I strongly believe in this. I agree with you. I hope that in future all the people will understand that cooperating with other disciplines is a richness. So I'm optimistic in this.
You have to be immune to discourage.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's for Raffaella. You can hear me. It's about, could you elaborate a bit on empathetic machines? Because at first look, for me, who doesn't know anything about that, the two words are contradicting each other, you know. So if you could elaborate on that.
Yes, it's a long discourse. I will try to make it short. Usually if people think about machines as programmed by algorithms, actually in artificial intelligence we don't program machines. In modern artificial intelligence, we allow machines to learn on itself. That means, imagine I put spare parts in a box and I shake the box and then I look if something intelligent come out of the box. This is what we do. So we build the structure and we allow the machine to show us a sort of intelligence. Of course, this is scaring because it's based on learning by data. The data could be affected by biases, and we don't want stereotypes and biases also in machines. So we are trying to allow machine to develop a sort of empathetic approach to human being and to the other machines. That means we are trying to translate human emotions or mental states in some data we can teach to machines too. This way we can have a natural protection, because if you feel empathy for someone, you couldn't hurt him or her. And this is what we are trying to create in machine. So it's about protection. It's also about making artificial intelligence more pleasant. I mean, often normal problems in artificial intelligence, how to make something effective. I mean, how to go from A to B in the shortest time. That's fine. It's an economic approach. But what if I could also say, okay, to a machine, give me the shortest path, but also the more pleasant path. This is empathy. This is, about enjoying something. It's better. I could have a shortest path, but also a nice path. And this is what we call empathy. It's not like human empathy, but it's something similar, making enjoyable also technology. So this is what we are trying to do. Of course, we do that studying human brain before. I use a lot brain imaging in my research, so also brain-computer interface. I have to understand human brain before develop a proper intelligent machines, a proper artificial brain. So that's what we do. It's easier than it seems to be. I can assure you, when you want to, all of you want to come in my labs and try, I will show you. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I have a question here.
So I actually have two questions. First one is, a lot of industries, they've looked into the issue of how to get more women into STEM, so already how to get them into the STEM subjects going into universities. And what I've heard is very often it's actually teachers at secondary schools who can be really influential. So I wanted to hear from you whether you've done any kind of outreach to the teachers themselves to see what role they could play in terms of getting more girls go from secondary school into a STEM subject at university. And my second question is totally separate, but comes to the point of work-life balance and digitalization. There's an increasing conversation between the unions and the employers on the right to disconnect. And I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that.
So maybe one of you can answer to one of the questions.
Well, maybe I can start already with your second question. Yes, indeed, it's a lot of discussion on that. And maybe it's also a very, very delicate line. It's something that, it's difficult to be on one side or the other, because digitalization, it can impact at the same time positively and negatively an employee. So how do you maybe try to push with the digitalization towards one rather than the other? It can be quite difficult, I would say. But then if we want to introduce the gender perspective here, we see that women and men benefit differently from digitalization, and it looks like women benefit more from the point of view that they can be more easily integrated into the job market after they've been away for a while, or after they have started with more flexible jobs. Digitalization helps in integrating them into a job. And yeah, so I don't have a very strong take on this right to disconnect, because I know it's a very delicate subject. And from my perspective, it looks quite difficult to say, okay, it's good or bad necessarily.
Yeah. Maybe you want to answer to this question?
From personal experience, talking here, I'll go a little bit vague around this question in the sense how technology is helping women and how it helped me, for example, as a woman in a startup. So I definitely see the place of technology there and positive impact. For example, as a woman, and we had this call before this conference, and I mentioned that even like a social media, they've given so much voice to women. And I've been doing myself a case studies about how women, they've been able to raise some serious questions, get campaigns out there about the topics that mattered because of social media, for example. So I don't want to go necessarily, we don't need to go that far to AI, I mean, I'm in AI company doesn't mean that every single day I do meet with AI. But if we take an example of everyday life, like a social media, internet, whatever that is, machines at the airport, I'll come back to that. Those kind of technologies, technology is neutral, right? It depends what we will do with that. But I must say that what I've seen that women, they are more heard because of social media. They can share their ideas. They find funding for their ideas. This hasn't happened before, really. So there's digitalization I see in a positive way, although there's, of course, a lot of online harassment, etc., and we need to fight that. But at the same time, I'm the person who likes to focus on positive outcomes. And Raffaella, you made such a great point about passport control, and I wanted to build on this in a sense. When I've been stationed in San Francisco for about 3 years, and when I was coming there every single time and they asked me, where you work? And I said, AI startup. I'm like, what? This is so weird. We need to investigate. And I felt like this is so unfair. They would never ask men such a question, or they wouldn't be suspicious. Other way around, when I came to the UK, now you have this e-passport control system, right? Where you have nobody asking anything. It's just a machine. You come there, you scan your passport, and that's it. It doesn't ask me anything, right? So when I go, for example, to the UK, I feel relieved because of the technology, because there are no biases, there is no judgment. So I want to focus on those kind of examples that, they put down those walls and those barriers between gender. And I think those are great examples of these.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when I hear you, because I'm in the opposite way. I'm education, so I'm in the middle of women all the day long, and I studied literature and philosophy, and I was surrounded by women all the time. And when I worked, when I built this company, and I came through a male field for the first time, and I met all this male around me. They asked me, "Oh, really? You were in philosophy, but why philosophy? Why to think about the future?" And no, it's you are made for science. No, so yeah, there is this stereotype, but it's even true with a woman. When I'm saying that I'm in literature field and I'm coming from literature, everybody looked at me like, "Oh, that's weird." No, he's in literature, so what is his sexual preference or this kind of stuff? You see, all this stereotype, because we are in the stereotype for gender, but it's the same with when homosexual or heterosexual. And if we're going above this, even it's all the vision of our society. And what I like in tech, but you already answered to this, is that we can shape the future differently, in the way that we are used to think that success in life is that we are achieving something to show to the others. We need to have a big car. We need to have a big house. And you say that just early, we probably need to think differently, to take the time to think again, and to have vision again that we don't have. Sometimes I have the feeling that we are building tech, and maybe you will agree or not, but in San Francisco, it was my feeling that people are building tech. We are throwing in the space a car, but for what? What is the vision behind, except marketing? Do we really care to send a car in the space? So that's the real question behind tech. Where is the vision?
This is the reason why I chose to go in a philosophy department. And I'm teaching there to my students that it's more about philosophy, and because we need to understand where we are going. And all my colleagues just looked at me as a strange one, because you are going to teach in a philosophy department. Why? But I'm enjoying it, because that's the point.
Yeah.
Yes, question to Raffaella. A few speakers before you and also yourself alluded to this, these differences between male and female brains. So I have a double question here. The first one is to what extent is there a consensus in the scientific community of neuroscientists on the fact that there is an objective, fully objectified, understood, and quantifiable in a way difference between male and female brains? Intellectually, as somebody who myself, I think I'm able to have empathy. I feel I'm sort of a feminist and so on and so forth, right? Can it be demonstrated that males operate in a certain way, females another way? In other words, and it's a candid question, right? Couldn't this be at least be partly nourished by stereotypes that neuroscientists may have? They may be looking for a certain type of evidence, right? And the second attached question is, if there is a broad proportion of the brain that also functions similarly, right? So how can we, in terms of action, exploit those areas of the brain that function similarly across men and women? I know it's a huge question, and perhaps it's not easy to have a short answer, but I think it's important to think about our own stereotypes, perhaps as scientists too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's complex to answer, but actually we are very similar, and research show that we are not so different. That's the truth. It is different the way we show feelings sometimes, but it is because of society. It is because We have been educated to show differently our emotions and our approaches, but we are the same. So this is what I like about technology, because in the past, all these researchers, and there is a neuroscientist there, he could confirm, were just made with observations, not measurement. With technology, with brain imaging, with brain-computer interface, we can measure a signal, because we have electrical signals in our brain, and we can show that the frequencies, all the signals are the same in male and female, so we are not different. And also, a great advantage we have with technology is that nowadays we don't need to be strong, but we just need to think, because we are not in an industrial era, but we are in a technological era. And we think the same. We have the same abilities. So no, we are not different. We just show differently our approaches, our insight, but because of society, as I told before, when he was coming in a male environment from a female one, it was looked at as a strange one. So it's just an habit we have, and we should break it. We should be more disruptive, and just understanding that men and female are the same. This is why I like to talk to my students about an inclusive approach. I always tell them, you are not so different. You think you are because you look at the look, but you are not different. And I hope that this kind of research will show this even more also in future. But we have to disseminate this, because many people still believe that women come from Venus and men come from Mars, and that's not true. So we all come from Earth. That's the truth. Shortly, yes. Not so scientifically, but I answered.
Do you have other questions? No? Oh, okay.
The one burning one, but it's an open, sorry, it's very short.
The first here and after yours. Oh, okay.
So we were discussing about women in the technology, but yeah, I'm also interested to hear about your view. Are the artificial intelligence and startups caring enough about the future of collaboration between women and women in education? That's the place we are. You said it. We are in a technological world. Is it really investing at the right place to do?
Just to repeat, is your question if startups, they do care enough about collaboration between men and women?
Yeah.
Yeah? In a working environment, or yeah?
From a society point of view.
Okay.
Really global view, do we have proportionally enough startups? Are they interested in those subjects? Are they bringing solutions for work-life balance, for example?
Yeah, very, very good question. Startups themselves, I mean, they are creatures. I don't even know how to define them. They are that really new type of entity that inspires in some way sometimes some sectors in being more flexible, giving people more flexible hours. It really, like, startups, they have one of the most flexible hours, and the balance is completely redefined. It doesn't mean 9 to 5 days a week, and then weekend you're off, so this is work-life balance. It means it is something like that. You have extreme days of working, and then 4 days you have nothing to do sometimes. So this is the first thing I want to say. If startup environment cares about men and women, I would say yes. First of all, because it is very entrepreneurial, and that entrepreneurial spirit really fuels the diversity. As I mentioned before, there's so many great female founders out there and female entrepreneurs, and I think startup environment is realizing that it is really benefiting the development, tech development. Women, they do great pitching very often. So just coming from the business advantage, it fuels equality. And that is for sure. What are our processes? For example, I'll talk about some internal process, some more concrete. So we do care about the equality. So a lot of time when hiring to our tech team or communication team, we disregard the gender. The person just passes the exam. Whether that is man or a woman, it doesn't matter. We have the same exam for both men and women. And as I mentioned before, from my personal experience, we do care if we see that we have 90% of men's application for the tech team. We start to worry, and we start to identify why is that. It is the mistake on our side because we didn't give the opportunity, or we didn't create a right profile so women are appealed to apply. We do think about those things because very often it comes from us, how you write the description of the job, right? Do you mention parental advantages? Do you mention whatever that is, So those little details, as I'm talking about job description, I think they do change things, and they promote right values. So startups, they do care, but I can't talk on behalf of all startups. Our startup cares, but it is hard to find still women. First of all, the environment, as our previous speaker said, is very challenging. So women, they need to know into what they're going into. It is quite challenging environment. They need to accept. If we are equal, in this case, they need to accept the condition also men are working in, right? And second of all, we are aware of men and women equality, but there's a lot of startups that their main focus is existence, to survive, to get funding, and they're just running behind all those business goals. And yes, I came across a lot of startups that something like men and women equality is not even in their mind at all. They have so many different issues on their mind: how to survive next 6 months, how to get funding. So I think your question was valid in a sense that I know where you're coming from, for sure. So I think bringing awareness, and this is why I'm very happy to be included in this conversation as a startup representative here, because I don't think they get pulled into this conversation enough. So you guys can see what is happening in startup environment, and also I can bring back what I learned here, you see, and then spread. So I think there's a lot of still work to be done, but I think it is changing.
If I may add something maybe to what you mentioned, and if startups and companies care about the work-life balance, and the impact on men and women, and how do they perceive that, it's like I would simply answer that we don't know, because there's not a lot of data on that, and I'm gonna stress what the previous speaker mentioned, that we do not have enough data. And it's very important to understand, the impact, of course, to understand the scope of technology, digitalization, and their impact on our work-life balance.
Just some bad notes, not in academia. In the academia, women are too few, so we are struggling. We are isolated. We don't cooperate one with each other, also among women. So we have to do double work if compared to men, and there is no work balance. So we have to fight. And this is horrible, because we should be more supporting each other and supported by also men. We want the same things. Women are not different from men. So if they want power, we want power. If they want money, we want money. If we want, life, a good life at home, they want good life at home. But in the academia, we have a lot of job to do, still now.
Yeah, I have two questions. Just to point a very good point that you made, Michaela. Just because I know the field of startup too, and it is about survival. So if you search for talent, you just search for talent. You're going in the best school and you say, okay, I need this kind of platform. Who is able to build this platform? You have 1 month to give me something, and you take the best. It's a girl, or it's a man, or if it's a woman, whatever, you take the talent. And I think in startups especially, because you need tech is going very, very fast. You don't have time to lose, and you need the best in the moments where you need the things. So you take the talent. That's all. And I think in a way it's a good manner to fight against the gender inequality. You need talent, and you just recognize the talent, not the gender. We have one question here, one question here. Oh, okay. Can we just, because you had your question, so okay, let's go.
Thank you. I'm just curious. Thank you. Are your colleagues or your team members, do they have families? And if they have, how do they manage?
Yes, they do. And sometimes it is challenging, I'll be not lying. And there is missing balance between work and life. But at the end of the day, we're all people. And the most important is communication. So once our colleague communicates, you know what, I need to take time off for my kids or for my wife, it is just not going good direction, we will give it this time, we will give extra time, take a holiday. Sometimes we even pay for holiday for that matter, because happy employees are good employees finally, right? So they sometimes also my colleagues or my team tend to, because they are very entrepreneurial personas, they tend, and ambitious, they tend to fall into this reality where they start to forget about their families. We're not forcing them to work that much, but they just want to show up so much that they can solve the problem, whatever, that they start to go into extreme working hours. And this is sometimes up to us also to say, okay, it is enough. You're not solving anything, you're just dragging your time and you're wasting your time. You need to take time off, get a good sleep, take care of yourself as you were talking about, and then come back. Because this environment is so challenging, ambitious, and as Jean said, every day there is a new startup, a new idea. So it feels like every single minute you compete with somebody, it just puts you into this mindset that I need to be at work 24/7, if not as in a person, at least with my mind. It is sometimes hard for us startup people and my colleagues to make sure they have a time for a family. I think it is important to create a startup with mindful people who have core values, so you do not forget. So very often, I just left the meeting. So I have this example I would like to share with you. It's a very good example. On Friday, this last Friday, I was at work in the office, and our office space is at the bank. And, there was something very urgent, a private matter, family matter. And I said at 1 o'clock, no, I just had to leave. I'm sorry. This meeting was very important, but I just said, I need to leave now. So thanks to that, actually, I avoided half an hour earlier the attack that happened. I passed that spot, actually, just 30 minutes earlier than attack at the London Bridge, unfortunately, happened. And I just, it makes you realize that there's more important things, of course. It's really shook me in a way that, and those are the things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs and my colleagues realize when real things happen in life, and they were at the age of losing something, they realized, there's something more important.
So we had a question, yeah. And we have behind too.
Yeah.
here. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Just quick, everybody, quick. Just.
I'm going to be very quick. So I work at UN Women, and I just wanted to mention the tool that UN Women developed with UN Global Compact to improve gender equality at work. I've met Christine and Colette, and we exchanged about that. So UN Women developed this tool with 170 plus companies who, as you said, understood that happy employees are good employees, but also that gender equality means good business. Those are a set of 7 principles that aim to improve gender equality in areas such as health, the supply chains of company. Also looked at how company can help women to progress, so recruitment, retention, re-entry. And so to be very, very quick, there is a tool that has been developed, again with companies, so that because we wanted to take into account the real life challenges of work-life balance policies. So with this tool you can assess where the company is in terms of gender work-life balance and gender equality at work, and then it also provides you with some guidance on how you could improve this based on what you have. So everything is available online. It's called empowerwomen.org, and if you want any additional information, feel free to contact me.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sure. Thank you. It's that
Don't
we are a
forget.
bit hidden here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Eleonora Del Vecchio from GMF and Process Binder as well. So you said that bringing women in this environment could add something, and I was wondering, how is this environment? Because I imagine it to be like very white and like with typical white men and, you know, heterosexual, like the typical representation of power. So I was wondering if you're taking some action to include like people of color as well, and if it's really like this environment, because I don't know it very well, and if you think that this could add like and could bring an added value to that, like an other point of views, as you said that is very important, the background you had and the experience you lived, to add in artificial intelligence. So I would like to know.
You start, otherwise I always talk.
Yeah, so a great point about nationality and different type of equality. And for example, we're about 25 people startup, and we do have 20 plus nationalities, and we do see advantage of that. Different kind of thinking. Different type of attitude and presentation, it really helps. And you know, as you work with the different regions and geographies and customers, we can understand better our customers, because just we have somebody from that culture in our team, and we're like, okay, so what we should do or we shouldn't do at the first meeting. So it helps so much, those little things, for sure.
Yeah. I can say the same. In a sense, we are trying not to create artificial systems with biases. So that's the reason why I always stress the fact that data matter. So we have to work on that before creating something, let me say, intelligent. Because if we have biases, we will translate these biases into machines, and we don't want that. We aim to create something better. Maybe scary, because sometimes I joke and I say that we are not playing to be God, but we are playing to create gods, because we are going to create something better than us. But it's just a joke. But I would like to create a good God. So I mean, something better than us. But we are not so bad, actually. We are growing up as a humankind. I strongly believe in humankind. Yeah.
Yeah. You can ask your question.
You.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, well, I'm from tech, so for me, the speed of technology in both areas, like I have been academic researcher at universities and also work for startups. Right now, I'm on my own because I can manage my balance with my handicap and all that situation. But I have been in both situations. And the speed of technology is really high speed. So I see it very incompatible with motherhood. Are there specific actions taken at your university or at your startup to actually, for maternity leave, incorporation, support for breastfeeding, or things like that? Thank you.
Okay, that's a big
I have to. I will start and then I will pass to the others. I worked also in both the environment. In the past, I was in private sector, and now I'm in academy. I can say that when I was in private sector, there was nothing helping women in job environment. Also, I remember when I had to, go away from some meetings, I couldn't say that I had family matters because otherwise all the people say, "Oh, women just are going at home for something." If a man told that he was going home for his child, say, "Oh, what a good man, oh, so caring." So yes, I couldn't at that time. Maybe now things are changed and they will tell us. In the academy, no. In the academy we have no help. We still have to avoid to talk about family. We still have to avoid to talk about personal issue. We have to pretend to be harsh than men. And I don't like this actually because I like to be a woman and I would like to be appreciated also because I'm different, because I like earrings or heels, That's all. But we are so far.
Do you want to say something first?
Okay. So from my experience, so first of all, as I mentioned, and you work at a startup, so you probably know how flexible hours can be, and you're not that really tied to a location. So for that matter, if you need to be at home, all what matters finally for us that you do your job, your KPIs, whether it is from home, from the beach, from wherever that is, right? We're very flexible on that. So if you can do it your own way from coffee shop or wherever, it is quite flexible environment, sometimes challenging. So for example, you get the task to finish by tomorrow and you can do it wherever you want, but you have it as your KPI. However, we do consider that sometimes it is not possible just because of the family issue or your kid got sick or something like that. And startups, what I think is very good about, because we're so small, we often, and I got this impression from many startups, sometimes you feel like a family, it is different when you work in a corporate large firm. I worked before and you have thousands of people, and it is different to work with 25 team members. So you just, from the sort of a human perspective, you don't want to say no to the person to go and take the kid to the doctor or whatsoever. So sometimes, as it is sounded hard, that it is challenging and ambitious, and we do strive to sometimes survive, or we just have on our mind business goals. Very often, because of that spirit that we do create and we spend a lot of time together, we have a lot of empathy to each other. And empathy, it was so many times mentioned here, drives the change. And I've seen so many times that example, that we had important meetings, important clients, partners or customers meeting, and that person couldn't attend for personal reason. You don't even need to say what it is. He was excused or she was excused because as I said, it's driven by the empathy and common understanding that sometimes the things happen and there are more important things than the business at the end of the day. And I think this startup environment, if we maintain this empathy and building those organizations, not just as colleagues, but really as friends and families, because startups often they do start this, and we grow this company in that spirit, in that culture. We can transmit that culture to be empathic to each other. I know it sounds so dreamy, but I can tell you that as growing from 3 people startup into now, as I said, 20, 25 people, it can work. You just need to create that trust between each other, as was mentioned before, this empathy. So I can't even second more how important those core values that you have in family, between friends, are important as in the working environment.
Yeah, and you become multitask now. Like this is what I like in this kind of startup.
Startup is interdisciplinary. I mean, you do
you have to
what
do everything.
you need to do, basically. Yeah.
If I can maybe add something, at our organization, we do not necessarily use particular practices, but we are part of an European project which is called R&I Peers, which looks into different practices across Europe to improve gender equality at academia level. So I looked into that study, and I wanted to share with you a couple of best practices that I found, and those that are related to digitalization and the challenges of the digitalization and how they can be used for improving the work-life balance. And they are very much related to what the previous speakers have mentioned. So it's about building an environment of trust, of mutual trust. So it's about empowering your employees and make them feel safe psychologically, first of all. And this kind of practice has to be introduced at every level of decision making. So making them part of the decision making process, that will definitely make them more committed. And it looks like it increases their efficiency at work. So that would be one. And a second one, which I would say it's very closely related, is just training. As simple as it sounds, training your employees to understand the complexity of this transition towards a digital work environment and the challenges that come with it, makes them more resilient with all these changes. So these are I would say at this as I present them, they are maybe simple, or you don't understand exactly how can you put this in practice, but it's true that it depends on each company. But they are actually relatively simple methods that the companies can use to help their employees with this question of work-life balance.
Just want to add what you just said. It's so true. We struggle as a startup with our employees networking, public speaking, and interaction. So when they went out, they had a little bit problem of sort of socializing, creating business connections. So we did a workshop and a training with a of course expert in that field one day here in Brussels to sort of empower them and show them that is okay if you don't feel like, but here is a workshop, be a part and see if that can help you maybe gain in confidence in public speaking when you're going for the business presentation, etc. And I think it's so important, and this is the goal of the hub when it comes now not to public speaking, but equality, do those trainings and workshops in the companies, and even at the startups at a young age, start to grow the organization that later when they grow into these giant corporates, they have these core values already embedded through those trainings and workshops.
Yeah, so I think we'll close now. Thank you for all your questions. It was very nice to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.